Hi everyone, I'm Stacey Holland, and when it comes to our exercise regime, our fitness goals, and what we should eat to reach these goals, there's a lot of confusion. Should we eat before going to the gym? Should we drink caffeine for better performance? Will the protein shake really help us develop lean muscle mass? And the list of questions goes on and on and on, but hopefully we'll shed some light on some of these questions because we've invited food specialist Rachel Jessen and sports nutrition expert Ian Craig to chat to us about the do's and don'ts of exercise nutrition. Guys, we're chatting about this off air. It's like a minefield. You walk into any, major pharmacy or health store, and you don't even know what to choose. What's right for you? What's wrong for you? Where do you start? What are the basics? So, Ian, I'm going to start with you, just laying a foundation on the theory of exercise nutrition and sports nutrition, and maybe a little bit of the do's and don'ts, and then we'll get some feedback from you, Rachel, as to what worked for you, because you've competed as a triathlete. But let's start with the theory.
Okay, so I think the first point I want to make is that the exercise environment is very different to the sedentary environment or the non-active. So when we go from being sedentary as we are now into an exercise state, the metabolic needs of our body change. So therefore, our nutrition needs change in order to support our body. Okay, so we've got a huge amount of confusion out there at the moment because we've got, do we carb load or do we fat load? Do we avoid the carbs? Do we train fasted? Do we have something during it? What about sports drinks? And I think we should sort of chip away at these questions during it.
Let's start with fasted, because I think that's probably the area where people still don't know. Should you eat before you train or not?
Probably yes for most people. Okay, so this is a big one. I deal with mostly people who are struggling health-wise. So they're trying to train to be healthier and fitter, and they need the support of their body. There's one big benefit to training fasted, and that's because fat metabolism is better than if you have something before or during it. Okay, get up, don't eat anything, just have water, get through the training session. Your fat metabolism will be better, there's no doubt. But I've thought of three negatives.
Okay.
The biggest one for me is cortisol levels go up. Cortisol, as we know, we've talked a lot about adrenal fatigue, any thyroid issues. A lot of people are struggling in these sort of metabolic need areas, adrenal fatigue. And if they support their body by even just having a small snack before going to the gym, having something during it, they can reduce those cortisol levels.
Okay.
Second one is should be an anabolic rebound after we train. So when we train, we're in a catabolic state. It's just by definition we're breaking down tissue. We should rebound into an anabolic recovery state, but training fasted has been shown to inhibit that rebound. So we stay catabolic for longer. So that's not a great one. And then the third reason is if we're trying to push it and do a good exercise session, it's very, very clear, this is a 30, 40-year-old literature now that says if you take carbohydrate before or during a session, you'll have a much more intense effort. So if you're just kind of cruising, it doesn't matter so much, but if you're doing a hard session, then it makes a difference.
Rachel, I suppose this is where it's what you're actually doing, because when people say, should I eat or should I not eat before training, what does training consist of? And for someone that's done something like CrossFit, for example, or triathlons, what did you do and what worked for you?
Well, fortunately with triathlons, a lot of the races start late. So it's not like if you do a marathon when they start at 6 o'clock.
Exactly.
Now, if you are doing a marathon, you would definitely need to eat like a decent meal at like 4 in the morning at least, or earlier, because you want a proper breakfast to sustain yourself through the marathon. The same goes with a triathlon. Fortunately, we don't have to eat at 4 o'clock because they often start at 10 or 11, depending on what section and where you are. So definitely a proper meal, because you're now training quite late, so you need a good wholesome breakfast. And then you could even snack up until the time. So you're looking at anything between 2 to 3 hours before the race to actually consume something decent. And then you could sip like a homemade sports drink, and then you go into your race either with that sports drink in your bottle on your bike or at your transition station, whatever the case is. It's a lot different to CrossFit, because triathlon we're looking at a longer period of training.
Unless you're doing a sprint triathlon.
Even so, it depends the level of athlete you are.
Yeah.
So in other words, if you're fairly professional or elite, your food is your performance. You know, you're going to need the food in order to push through. I mean, I found some wonderful snacks when I was actually racing that were really, you know, full of dates and, you know, that goes like convert straight to glucose and off you go kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas CrossFit is normally like a 45-minute to an hour session, a completely different workout where you're being pushed anaerobically for short spurts of time. So the energy requirements are completely different.
So how do you choose the appropriate pre-workout? Let's start with before training. How do you, what informs your decision when you want to choose something before training?
Timing, as Rach said, you know, what time, you know, is it early in the morning, later in the morning, is it an evening session?
Okay.
And secondly, what kind of exercise? So just like Rach said, there is it a short, intense thing where, you know, well-formulated sports drink to bring in the carbohydrate that you need to hit that peak performance could be enough, or if it's a longer thing, like, I mean, I deal with Ironman triathletes, and boy, they need to get their breakfast right.
And what's a good breakfast? If you have the time to eat a good meal before training, is it 3 hours before, and what is a good meal?
It often depends on what you're able to ingest.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to do is burp peanut butter the whole way through your race or something. There's nothing worse.
Yeah, and the last thing you want is GI distress.
Absolutely.
As well.
So you've really got to have a race day, training day. So you prep your food. You know what works for you. I mean, I love eggs, omelets. Those sorts of foods work really well for me. Not too much fiber. You can get performance runs. You absolutely don't want that. Even a green juice of some sort will work well, you know, combined with your breakfast. But it would really depend. And when you ask the difference between a CrossFit session and a triathlon session, the triathlon session I would have something more substantial in my bottle, perhaps a mixture of whey, you know, something more solid. Whereas in a CrossFit session, a much shorter session, I would have more the sugars, just like a nice sugary drink.
What about these stimulant pre-workouts?
We were talking in the car earlier. Do we have caffeine, don't we? Caffeine is absolutely, without a doubt, an ergogenic aid, which means it boosts performance. And it does that by improving fat metabolism. So it's very good for the likes of triathlons or marathons or half marathons. Even it improves the intensity that you can get to in short sessions as well. But if you do it too often, what does caffeine do? Gives the adrenals a good old shock, and then you're spiking cortisol levels again. So if you're doing that regularly, you're facing adrenal fatigue, which is very much the same as overtraining. So the strategy is actually to avoid coffee or caffeinated drinks for a few weeks, and then do a race scenario with it. And obviously, as Rach said, you have a practice session where you use it just to see how you feel with it. Because I can give the runs as well.
Yes, exactly. It does have.
And you'll find some people are super responsive to it. Yeah. So I know I'm incredibly responsive to caffeine. I can't have dark chocolate at night. You know, so I'm buzzing. Whereas some people won't.
It's how you metabolize caffeine as well. Yes. Okay.
And we've now got genetic tests that can look at caffeine clearance as well.
Yeah. So you also have those thermogenic fat burners that you take prior to workouts, and other like sherbets and powders and things like that. Some of them have nasties in them. I don't know of many that are quite clean.
Most of them are nasty.
Yeah.
I actually had to go out and do some research for this insert because we don't consume any of that stuff. And you'll find most of your pre-sport drinks are loaded with caffeine. They're loaded with sodium phosphate, which is a anti-clumping powder. We've got acidity regulators, so those are the E codes E331 and 339. What this is doing is it's not only making you more acidic, even though exercise is creating an acidic environment, you're consuming something completely acidic as well. These are calcium binders, so they look for calcium in the body. So if you are a little bit calcium deficient and don't even know it,
you're depleting yourself further.
Exactly. And we've got acesulfame K, which is like 200 times sweeter than sugar.
You see that in everything.
And it's called a non-nutritive sweetener for a reason. It has zero nutritional value.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a sweet thing.
Yeah.
Often it's combined with sucralose, and together they remove the horrible bitter taste of aspartame. So look, we've got 3 non-nutritive sweeteners. You find this in everything. It's in all the recovery shakes, anything you see. And in fact, I actually had to take my phone because some of the ingredients are so small. I don't have a magnifying glass in my bag.
Them. Yeah.
So I thought, well, let me actually take a photo and I can enlarge it on my phone. I still couldn't read it because it was so small.
Yeah.
So this
hundreds
is a
and
big
hundreds
problem.
of ingredients. In fact, before we go to take a quick break, Ian, I'm going to ask you just to weigh in on this, because I've asked some of the guys in these stores, are there any unflavored versions of, for example, BCAAs? And many of them have said, well, you need the flavoring and the carbohydrate in order for it to be utilized in the body. Is that true?
You don't need the flavoring, no. You need the flavoring to make it palatable.
Yeah, because it tastes nasty when it's clean. But it's
they're very bitter.
Yeah.
I get my BCAAs from a natural bodybuilding friend in Stellenbosch, and it tastes terrible, but I mix it with fruit juice.
Okay.
And it tastes okay.
Okay.
But I want to just follow up on the pre-workouts as well. If you want to long-term gain weight, take your pre-workouts.
Wow.
Short-term, they'll work.
Yeah.
But they'll lead you into adrenal fatigue, thyroid dysfunction, and then you have a rebound weight.
Well, I can attest to that because I've been extremely lean, and it was on thermogenic fat burners and pre-workouts, and then I had a whole bunch of hormonal issues to deal with. I'm only starting to recover from that, so I completely agree with Ian's sentiments there. When we come back, we continue our chat to Rachel and Ian. We still have lots to share with you, and a bit later, our Real Health Medicine Cabinet looks at causes and treatments of skin irritations. Don't go away. Welcome back to Real Health. We're talking about the do's and don'ts of proper exercise, nutrition, and how to obtain the best results for your fitness regime. I'm joined by food specialist Rachel Jessen and sport nutrition expert Ian Craig. Okay, so is green tea good training as a pre-workout?
It's got a little bit of caffeine in it, but it's also got L-theanine in it, which is a relaxant. So some people like Rachel feel the caffeine and I don't.
Okay.
So it's much softer than coffee. So for me, for most people, it's a decent option.
And something like, so I've bought unflavored BCAAs, and I have that with my vitamin C buffered powder because that's where the flavor comes from.
Okay.
That works for me as a pre-workout, and I have it as a post-workout. It's quite bitter because I just add it into my green shake. But I'm a functional eater. Whether it's palatable or not doesn't matter to me.
I would go a step further, and Rach was talking about the acidity of formulations before. If you use a fruit juice, you could actually make it more alkaline with the BCAAs.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, chuck your vitamin C in there as well if it works, but that's what I would do.
Let's talk about during exercise. For most people out there, we're not talking about the hardcore serious athlete, although we may have some of them watching, so let's weigh in on that a little bit. But do we actually need something while we're exercising if it's less than an hour?
The literature tends to say water up to an hour and then sports drinks after, but it depends on the intensity.
Okay.
So if you're hitting the CrossFit hard, I would, because your performance will benefit from it. But it also depends on who's the individual.
Yeah. Are
they adrenally fatigued a bit? Is the thyroid a function? Is there any metabolism going on?
And if they're in that case, which is a lot of people out there,
I'd say yes.
Then you need something during the workout.
Yeah, but a DIY sports drink.
Okay, so we're going to get into
Rach can help with that stuff.
Okay, Rach, give us your DIY.
So I would suggest, depending on the length of your session, so you could either divide this or you consume the whole lot. So I would do about 4 cups of a clean filtered or reverse osmosis water to start.
Okay.
And then I would combine that with a cup of 100% fresh juice. So we're not talking the stuff in the boxes that last in the middle of the aisle of the shop for years.
Yeah.
We're talking 100% juice that actually goes off. So that it's like either 100% pomegranate juice. There's no concentrates, extracts. It's just the juice.
Okay.
Cherry, dark red grape juice. These are all rich in antioxidants, which you need when you train, because the antioxidants fight the free radicals. This slows down the oxidation process, and then of course you get less cell damage, which means the recovery after the sport is going to be higher.
Yeah.
So you want some sort of antioxidant rich juice in there. So do a cup of that. Then I would do 2 tablespoons of a raw unfiltered apple cider vinegar.
Okay.
So now we bringing the body into an alkalized state, because of course exercise creates an acid environment. Then you've got the probiotics of the beautiful apple cider vinegar. You've got it's a toxin removal, and it's an alkali, beautiful product to combine. I would do 2 tablespoons of maybe a raw honey.
Okay.
So you've got all the antibacterial, anti-everything.
Yes.
I mean, honey is just
antifungal,
legendary.
antimicrobial.
Honey, or even an organic maple syrup.
Okay.
And then possibly a quarter teaspoon of Himalayan salt.
Okay.
I mean, I've got like 84 trace minerals in that salt, or a nice good quality sea salt. All the other pre-workout mixes are using that table salt. It's got really little value, for the body. So I would just mix this up. You could do it the night before. You could do it on a Sunday, whenever you've got the time. You put it in the fridge and then just grab it out when you're on your way. Give it a good shake and then down it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Post-workout, again, is there a window of, is it 30 minutes? Is it 45 minutes? What is it? And can you have carbohydrates then? What if you are trying to lose weight? What's the deal? What does the science say?
So there's a cracking little book, this thing called Nutrient Timing, and it was from 2004. It's been challenged a couple of times, but still they're holding firm. There's a 45-minute more or less window of opportunity, as it's called, to refuel after exercise. And that's when we're in an insulin sensitive state. In other words, what comes into the body gets used for energy and replenishment, as opposed to filling up these gaps. So yes, it is important. We need carbs and protein ideally, and the two together help each other.
Okay.
So the carbs help the protein to go into a rebuilding environment.
Okay. And what would your suggestion be of a DIY post-workout?
Oh, there's actually quite a few.
Okay.
If you've got the time.
Yes.
I mean, a lovely base is kefir, again, rich in probiotics. I would add some good, wholesome, clean whey protein isolate. So we're talking just the whey. There's nothing else in it.
Okay.
And
even for people with gut
available.
issues, or is that particularly for
they
people
can
with gut
do pea
issues?
protein.
Okay.
There's hemp. There's loads of other any kind of protein powder. Nice clean one though, without any of the other
depends
stuff.
on their dairy tolerance.
Yes.
But isolate is generally without the casein or the lactose.
Okay.
And if they have an issue with the kefir, coconut milk is another great option. Coconut water. Water. Some chia seeds in there are great as well. Some L-glutamine, any other branch chain amino acids that they want to put in there. Some raw honey, a scoop of raw honey. A banana is a great base. And then you add any superfoods that you feel to your heart's content. You can add some nuts, some nut butter. I mean, there's heaps of stuff. You can have a real proper meal replacement with one of those. If you're in a rush and you're going from early morning training workout straight to work, you can have your whey protein. You can grind some coconut sugar in a grinder, coffee grinder. You know what? At this stage, I would even say some raw organic sugar is fine as well. Anything better than the non-nutritive sweeteners.
Yes.
A little scoop of vanilla powder, and you've got your vanilla. Shake it up, and all blends is all water soluble. Add your cacao for chocolate flavor. Add your coffee if you want a coffee one. You can do a mocha with cacao and chocolate. A choc mint with some dried mint, adding the cacao. I mean, there's loads.
So you have
of
more opportunity
variations.
post-workout.
Absolutely.
To really enjoy that meal.
There's tons.
And let's not forget the benefit of a stock. Those are great as well. I mean, if you can put it in a flask. I mean, if you make your grass-fed stock with some medicinal mushrooms like a reishi mushroom. I mean, you've got immune support. You've got brilliant antioxidant. You've got
it's gut healing and soothing.
Absolutely, and just the mushrooms and adaptogen. You know, so it's going to support you through your stresses.
I do that, and my husband doesn't think
brilliant.
that
It's
right upstairs.
This is real. This is real post-workout. I mean, it's loaded with amino acids.
You can add some collagen in there as well, some hydrolyzed collagen.
It's full of it already. There's no need. You could do that with your other smoothie.
Yeah.
And the amounts of this depends on the length of your workout and the intensities you get to. So like the stock doesn't really have much carbs, but if you've done a low intensity long workout, that might be fine. Also, if you say it's a pre-breakfast kind of workout, if you're not eating breakfast for another 2 hours, then it's really important to get that in. If you're going to be eating breakfast quite soon, then you might not need to shake.
Yes,
because you're moving straight into that window of opportunity.
Okay,
and also coming to winter, you know, who wants a freezing cold smoothie packed with ice?
Yeah.
Sometimes a nice warm cup of brothy, you know, would do you really quite well.
I could sit and talk to you guys all day, but unfortunately we've run out of time. But I think we really got some nice practical tips in there for guys that are watching. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
You're welcome.